Last night, Zack Wheeler crossed the 1,000 strikeout mark as a member of the Phillies. Where does Zack Wheeler rank among starting pitchers since joining the team all the way back in 2020? Is he the best starting pitcher of the last 6 years? Let's talk about it next, right here on the PHLY Phillies podcast. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast. Tyler Zulli here with you today. And after last night's milestone strikeout and a crazy game with the Chicago Cubs, I thought I would take a look back and do a little retrospect of Zack Wheeler's career, or at least since joining the Phillies, and talk about the pitcher that he was at the time and the pitcher that he's become, and ponder the question, has Zack Wheeler been the best starting pitcher since the 2020 season? Well, back on December 9th, 2019, the Phillies signed Zack Wheeler to a 5-year, $118 million deal. He was coming off a 5-season run over a 7-year mark with the New York Mets, where he was good, not great. He finished 44-38 with a 3.77 ERA over 126 starts. He threw 749 and a third innings and posted a whip just south of 1.3. He also missed the entire 2015 season after suffering a UCL tear and having to get subsequent Tommy John surgery, and then missed the 2016 season because of difficulties in recovery and rehab because of that Tommy John surgery. So Zack Wheeler didn't pitch from the end of 2015 until 2017. Things just weren't going well for Zack Wheeler. And then even in 2017, he only made 17 starts where he was mostly ineffective. He posted a 5.21 ERA in the 2017 season. Now, he was very good in 2018, but then struggled once again with consistency in 2019, which would be his final year with the New York Mets. The Mets opted not to bring Zack Wheeler back and allow him to hit the free agent market, and that's where the Phillies were able to scoop him up for the 2020 season. It's a fair assessment to say that the Phillies took a chance on Zack Wheeler and paid a decent price for Wheeler as a free agent with those 5 years and $118 million. But what they saw was a guy with untapped upside, and he hadn't really gotten into the pitcher that he would become because of those inconsistencies and the injuries that he faced over the 2016 and 2015 season. The same offseason, the Phillies signed Zack Wheeler. The Yankees signed the crown jewel of the offseason, at least in terms of starting pitching, in Garrett Cole. They got Cole for 9 years and $324 million. And now Cole, rightfully so, got the big payday and got the big years contract because he was coming off another excellent season, this time with the Houston Astros. But another arm was signed to a 7-year deal worth $245 million that ended up being a much more fluid and difficult deal to predict and to talk about, because that player was Steven Strasburg. He got 7 years and $245 to stay with the Washington Nationals. The other big name on the market that year was Madison Bumgarner, who ended up going to the Diamondbacks for 5 years and $85 million. So it's not outside of the realm of crazy to say that it was a little bit of a risk to take on Zack Wheeler's injury history and inconsistencies. But going back to that quote, taking a chance on Zack Wheeler, it's become obvious. Not only was it one of the best free agent signings of that offseason, Zack Wheeler has become one of the best free agent signings in Phillies history. So I went back and pulled some stats since the beginning of that year when he joined the Phillies to take a look at how good and, more important, how consistent Zack Wheeler has been as a member of the Phillies rotation. Since the start of the 2020 season, Zack Wheeler is first in innings pitched with 911 and a third innings pitched. Only one other starter, San Francisco's Logan Webb, has crossed the 900 inning threshold. Now, I think a handful of starters will get there by the end of the season. The next will likely be Jose Barrios because Aaron Nola is still on the IL. He might have been the next guy, but I think the next guy to cross the 900 inning threshold will be the Blue Jays' Jose Barrios. But Wheeler crossed that threshold 2 starts ago, dating back to the end of May. So he'll be well on his way to 1,000 innings pitched by the time that some of these guys cross the 900 inning mark. He's also 7th in games started with 146, which I think to me makes the 911 innings pitched even more impressive, because there are starting pitchers who have made as many as 9 additional starts in the case of Dylan Cease than Zack Wheeler has at 146. He's also second in Major League Baseball in wins. And I know you can say wins are not always a pitcher stat. All you have to do is look at Paul Skeens this year and say he's been as dominant as they come, but he only has 4 wins. But he's second in Major League Baseball in wins. Only Framber Valdez of the Houston Astros has more. He has 66. And despite making all of those starts and pitching all of those innings, Zack Wheeler has only lost 34 games over that stretch, which is tied for the 44th most. So I went back and looked at some of the other pitchers who also had 34 losses. There were 4 of them: Sean Manaea, Jordan Montgomery, Jose Urena, and Trevor Rogers. Manaea has just 4 less appearances than Wheeler, but he's made 33 less starts than Zack Wheeler has. Jordan Montgomery has 17 less appearances, Urena has 42, and Trevor Rogers has 60 less appearances. Zack Wheeler has been as consistent and effective as they come, and he's limited the amount of losses. He has kept the Phillies in almost every start he has made. Since joining the Phillies, he's also posted a 2.93 ERA. Of pitchers who have thrown at least 500 innings, that's the 4th best across Major League Baseball. Only Max Fried, Corbin Burnes, and Shane Bieber have better ERAs of guys that have thrown at least 500 innings. But Max Fried has thrown 170 innings less than Wheeler has, and Shane Bieber has thrown nearly 400 innings less than Zack Wheeler. If you increase that threshold to 750 innings pitched, only Corbin Burnes is better than Zack Wheeler's 2.96 ERA. Now, you know I'm not a big believer in the stat of WAR, but if you are, you'll like this stat. Zack Wheeler leads Major League pitchers in WAR since 2020 with a 26.8. Only 4 pitchers across Major League Baseball are above 20, and none are within 4 WAR of Zack Wheeler. The next closest is in the 22 threshold. If we use that same 750 innings limit cap that we talked about for runners left on base, Zack Wheeler is tied for 5th with Jose Barrios at 76%. Corbin Burnes, Chris Bassett, Max Fried, and Garrett Cole are the only pitchers that have left runners on base at a higher percentage than Zack Wheeler has. But it's not just about the numerics. We can talk more about them in just a second. Zack Wheeler has had an innate ability to limit hard contact over the course of the last 6 years. He's first across pitchers who have thrown at least 750 innings with an average exit velocity of just 86 miles an hour, and third when it comes to hard hit percentage at just over 33%. Only Tyler Anderson, surprising probably, but only Tyler Anderson and Corbin Burnes have been better than the 33% that Zack Wheeler has posted. And of course, the reason that we're here today is because he's crossed the 1,000 strikeout mark. Only Dylan Cease, Corbin Burnes, and Aaron Nola have done so in a faster timeline since 2020 than Zack Wheeler has. And on top of all of the stats that we've already brought up, Zack Wheeler finds himself in the top 10 in these particular categories: strikeouts per 9, walks per 9, strikeout to walk ratio, home runs per 9, strikeout rate, opponent batting average, and whip of all starters that have thrown at least 750 innings. Think about that. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stats that Wheeler finds himself in the top 10 in. That's excluding all of the other numbers that we just gave you. So if you mold all of these things together, you round them into form, and you think about who has been the most complete pitcher since the 2020 season, the answer probably comes up Zack Wheeler. Now, before I give you my definitive answer, let's think about some of the things that Wheeler has done outside of the numbers department. His fastball velocity, on average, has increased. He's dropped his arm angle to under 30%, and what that has allowed him to do, it's something we've talked about a lot, is run his fastball up in the zone. He's willing to challenge guys in the zone because of the life that his fastball has gotten over the last couple of seasons specifically, but really since joining the Phillies in 2020. He's allowing himself to attack up in the zone because he can, because he trusts the location, because he trusts the velocity, and because he has that ability to battle gravity, if you will, and pitch up in the zone. And it allows him to look like he's throwing a running fastball. And by running fastball, I actually don't mean running left to right. I mean almost a rising fastball from down to up, if you will. Now, of course, we know that that doesn't work with gravity, but it feels like Zack Wheeler is battling gravity and has the ability to run the fastball up in the zone. He trusts all of his pitches. He mixes his pitches well, and he feels comfortable throwing any given pitch in any given spot, even though we know first and foremost, he wants to attack you with the fastball more than anything else. If you compile all of these things together and you add in the fact that Zack Wheeler has maintained a model of consistency and health, maybe the most important thing, he's missed very little time over the last 6 years because he has been a model of health. I don't think there's any question. You can talk about Garrett Cole. He's missed time with injuries. You can talk about other starting pitchers that we've brought up, including Corbin Burns. He's missed time with injury, and now he's on the IL for the remainder of the season after having to get Tommy John surgery. You could talk about all of these starting pitchers who have been excellent in their own rights. When it comes to consistency, when it comes to success, and it comes to health, nobody since the 2020 season has matched Zack Wheeler. Zack Wheeler, since joining the Phillies, is the best starting pitcher in all of baseball.